Hi, I'm Jim Meyer. I'm a retired pastor in the ELCA Lutheran Church, the Lutheran Church in America. How I got started with Faith of Our Lives ministry happened in 1978 while praying for guidance. And in that prayer, I heard this: teach my older children to teach my younger children what life is about. Oh man, I thought, what? How can I do that? And then it's like a brick hit me in the head. And I heard, I've invested so much time and energy in you with the theater, teaching you the art of the stage, the art of drama, the art of communication, the art of storytelling, all these things. Use your gifts. And so I guess I started the History of Our Lives theater at that point. I recruited some 8 senior citizens, all in their mid-70s, and we studied the historical events of their lives. It was really marvelous. I think I got rich in heritage listening to their stories. And then I wrote them down. And as I wrote them down, I'd use the irony of the story to bring out the humor. And it was really quite fun. It was great. We did about 400 performances in about a 7-year span. We performed in schools. We performed in senior centers, nursing homes, elk clubs, even during the summer at some of the fairs in the surrounding area. We had a great time. And that was just by listening to their stories. So I have this snapshot of stories. And I'd like to share one of them with you. It's entitled Tall Corn by James P. Meyer. And this is Elvan Brudvig's story. I can remember when I was about 3 years old. We lived on a farm of 160 acres. At that time, we had no tractors or mechanical power, so we used horses and good old manpower to plant and to plow. Corn planters was planted in even rows by a horse-drawn planter. Papa controlled the weeds by plowing 2 or 3 times while the corn was still short. As the corn grew taller, we could chop the weeds with a hoe or pull them up by hand. You know, my father was a towering man to me at that time. I was only 3 years old. I'd love to tag along with him and watch him work in the fields or stretch wire to repair fences. He worked so hard. One warm afternoon in the middle of summer, I couldn't find Papa, so I went out looking for him. I started down the path between the tall rows of corn. He wasn't anywhere to be found. I looked down this row and that one and still didn't see him. I started turning around, and everywhere I looked I saw tall corn. I started running, but it was like the tall corn was following me. I ran this way and I ran that way. Soon tears were streaming down my cheeks as I realized I couldn't find anybody and they couldn't find me. Oh, I cried, then screamed, but nobody heard. I finally lay down and still crying, I fell asleep. After some time, I heard voices that woke me, and I found that I was in my father's arms. He was hugging me and held me close to his heart. We got up with me still in Papa's arms, and I noticed many people close by in the field. I recognized many neighbors, and Mother tearfully told me they all came to find me. It felt so good being found. I'll never forget it. The end. I wonder where you are in this story. I wonder how Mom and Dad cope with the loss of their child. I wonder if Elva had ever gone looking for Papa before. I wonder if you've ever felt lost or abandoned. I wonder if the one who found you thought you were an extraordinary find. I wonder if you think you are an extraordinary find. I wonder if you felt or heard or saw love in your finding. Well, Now I'd like to turn to our family room reflection. Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended, they started to return home. The boy, Jesus, stayed behind in Jerusalem. But his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and their friends. When they didn't find him, they returned to Jerusalem after a full day. And it took 3 days to get to Jerusalem. And they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart. This is from Luke chapter 2, verse 42 through 50. And now our recollections. Imagine the shock on his parents' faces when they found that Jesus wasn't with them in the caravan. 3 days is a long time to misplace a loved one. What do you suppose Jesus was thinking during that time? Scripture only tells us that he was about his Father's business as he taught and listened to the temple teachers. Where are you in these stories of search and find? Are you the searcher or are you the found? Tell your story.